Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. Happy New Week. Happy New Week. Happy Monday. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and getting ready to get back and ready to get back into the business of the business because that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be answering the question of why do I keep putting off starting my coaching business? Specifically, there's several things that I want to get to in today's conversation. First of all, I'm going to be talking about the difference between deciding and honoring the decision. Then I want to talk about why the decision is so hard and what makes it worth making anyway. I want to go over four things that change after you decide and how to start honoring those four things and the decision that you make to yourself. We'll be talking about the identity and why it has to come before the evidence and not follow it. And I'm going to be talking about what the women who can't decide, what do they do instead and what does it cost them? And then finally, I want to get into why does the decision to do this business, why does it need to be a tangible expression and what exactly that looks like? So we have a lot of content that we're going to be getting into today. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. If you are in the room, let's do a quick tech check. And if you can hear and see me okay, just drop a quick yes in the chat because we are about to get into it. And I don't want you to miss any of the gems that we're going to be dropping on this Mindset Monday. We're going to be talking specifically about why do I keep putting off starting my coaching business? And the thing about all of this is that there is one decision that separates the women who build something from the ones who keep thinking about building something. And it's not the niche decision, it's not the pricing decision, it's not the platform decision or the offer decision or even the audience decision. It is the decision to decide. And that might sound circular or like an oxymoron or the equivalent of a double negative, but I want you to stay with me for this conversation because I think this is going to be really good. And I believe that it will help you as you are building your coaching business. So, welcome back to another episode of Nick at Noon. My name is Nick Scott, and I'm the founder and CEO of Her Income Edit. We are an online education platform where we help professional women turn their existing skills into multiple streams of income through coaching and digital products without leaving their 9 to 5, without burnout, and without starting from scratch. Today is Mindset Monday. Happy Monday. Happy New Week. Before we get into today's episode, I want to mention real quick that I am hosting a live workshop on May 30th. It is called Her Income Lab. Have you heard about Her Income Lab? If you've heard about Her Income Lab, just give this video a thumbs up. Registration opens for the public next week. We are there. We are just about there. And seats for general admission, they're going to be $147. And for VIP, they're going to be $297. But if you're on the wait list, you should have received an email from me about an hour ago. So your early access pricing is ready for you. So if you signed up for the wait list, if you took action and signed up for the wait list, you do get a special incentive and early access prices for that. Now, if you haven't already, go get your notebook and your pen, pop open a notes app on your phone or whatever it is that you take notes on. Share this episode with your biz bestie. And if you have any questions or comments, drop them in the chat if you're watching live, and I will go back and get to them at the appropriate time. If you are watching this on the replay, just leave your feedback, your question, whatever it is in the comment section, and I will get to that as well because we are about to get into it. We are about to get into it. So let's talk about it. The decision that changes everything. The decision to decide, that is what we're talking about today. And I want to be specific about what I mean by the decision, because as we go through this conversation today, I am going to be referencing the decision a lot in this conversation. So let's talk about what exactly I mean by the decision, because I think it gets talked about in these broad, sweeping terms, and it makes it sound simple. Like the decision, it is not simple, it's hard. And it's one of the hardest things that a woman can do. And I want to honor how hard and the difficulty of the decision before I tell you why it's the most important thing. The decision I'm talking about is not the decision to start a coaching business. That's not the decision that I'm talking about, because a lot of women that I have spoken with, they have made that decision, and they've made that decision multiple times. They made the decision in January. They decided in January. They decided again after a hard week at work. They decided after watching someone else's launch go well. They decided after a layoff scare. They decided after a conversation with a colleague, a friend, or a family member who reminded them about how much they know. So making the decision is not the hard thing. If you have already made the decision that you want to build a coaching business, let me know. Let me know in the chat. Say yes in the chat. So making the decision is not the hard thing. Most women who are building a coaching business, they've made it a lot of times. They've already made that decision. The decision that I'm talking about specifically is different. It is the decision to stop making the decision and to start honoring the decision. It is the decision that says, this is not a someday plan. I'm not waiting for someday. This is a right now. This is what I'm building right now plan. And I'm building it with the time that I have, with the skills that I have, and with the offer that I have. And I'm building it in the conditions that I have, not for the conditions that I'm waiting for. I am building this thing in the conditions that I am in right now today. So that decision right there, it's different from a resolution. It is different from a declaration, and it's different from having good intention, right? That decision to stop making the decision and to start honoring the decision, it is a commitment that changes how you move through your days. How you move through your days. It changes what you protect on your calendar. It changes what you prioritize when two things are competing for your attention and two things are competing for your time. And it changes what you do in the margins of the life that you already have. The decision to stop making the decision and to start honoring it, it produces something that nothing else produces. It produces direction. Not clarity, it produces direction. Somebody drop direction in the comments, because clarity is what comes through the work. But you can't do the work without direction. Somebody drop direction in the comments, and direction, it comes from the decision. Direction comes from the decision. Now, I just mentioned a few moments ago that the decision is extremely hard, right? The decision to stop making the decision and to honor the decision, I just said it was incredibly difficult, right? So I do want to talk a little bit about why this decision is so difficult for so many of us to make. Because I think dismissing the difficulty of this one, that is one of the reasons that women can't seem to keep their commitment once they've made it. So the first reason that the decision is hard is that it requires you to claim something before you've proven it. The first reason the decision is hard is because it requires you to claim something before you've proven it. So here's what I mean. When you decide to build a coaching business, you're claiming an identity before you have any evidence to support it. So you are saying, I'm a coach before you have clients. You're saying, I'm an entrepreneur before you've even made a single dollar in your business. You're saying, I'm someone whose skills are worth paying for before anyone has even paid you for those skills outside of your job, right? And so for a woman whose identity has been shaped by external validation, I'm talking about degrees and promotions and performance reviews, claiming an identity before you have evidence, it is incredibly uncomfortable. For high achieving women, saying that I'm this thing without having proof that you're that thing, it's uncomfortable because it feels presumptuous, right? It feels like you're getting ahead of yourself. It feels like you're setting yourself up for embarrassment if it doesn't work. But here's what I know about identity and evidence. Evidence does not come before an identity. It comes after your identity. The identity is what you decide first. And then the evidence is what you build as a result of the decision. And then waiting for the evidence before you claim the identity is waiting for something that can only come from the other side of the decision that you haven't made yet. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Let me know. Show me some love here today. We are kicking the week off, getting deep with this one, right? We are talking about the decision. Show me some love, y'all. So that was the first reason that the decision is so hard. So the second reason that the decision is so hard is because it requires you to accept imperfection as a permanent condition. This one right here, baby. Listen, women are trained to get things right before they share them. Do you believe that things need to be perfect? They need to be right. Everything needs to be in order before you share it. If you believe that, drop a yes in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up. Because even, let's just talk about in a work setting. Your report is going to be accurate before it goes out, right? Your presentation you're going to rehearse it before you deliver it. You are going to have your recommendations are going to be fully supported before you even give them. And that standard right there, when it's applied to a coaching business, it produces a permanent state of not ready. Because a coaching business is never finished. A coaching business is never finished, y'all. The offer will always evolve. Your niche is always going to get sharper. Your messaging is always going to be developing. Your systems are always going to be improving. And there is no point in your coaching business where being ready is the same way as a report is going to be ready. Your coaching business is perpetually a work in progress. Somebody drop work in progress in the comments. Your coaching business is perpetually a work in progress. If you are taking notes, I want you to jot this one down and I want you to personalize it. Whatever it is that you're taking notes on, I want you to write, my coaching business is perpetually a work in progress. And when you decide to build your coaching business, it means that you are deciding to be perpetually in progress. You're building in public and you're building in ways that can be evaluated. and you're building in ways that might not be perfect. And that right there is, listen, what I just described, this imperfection piece, that is genuinely hard for someone who has built an entire reputation on getting things right. And recognizing how hard that is, that's not an excuse for you to stay stuck. As a matter of fact, it's your honest acknowledgement that this is hard and it's uncomfortable. That's what makes the decision to move forward anyway more meaningful. Recognize it. Yes, this is hard. I am not perfect. And I'm putting out a perpetually in progress product. And I'm not used to that. And it's fine. It's okay. As high achieving women, we are so used to putting out this perception of perfection in every single thing we do. And it's okay. Like, it's okay. It's freeing, actually. It is freeing. So, the third reason the decision is hard is because the decision, it costs you something. Not just in time and energy, it costs you the comfort, it costs the comfortable ambiguity. Woo, baby, come on, tongue. It costs the comfortable ambiguity of not yet, not yet, not yet. When you haven't decided, your potential is still unlimited. The coaching business you might build, it could be anything. It could be extraordinary. It exists in your imagination as the best version of itself. Like, you closing your eyes, you are visualizing, and you see this thing being the best that it could be, right? Stripe notifications just constantly popping up on your phone. You're seeing the clients that have all these wonderful testimonials, and they're referring you, and you have all these referrals. Like, when it's in your imagination, your coaching business is the best version of itself. But the moment you decide, that potential becomes specific. That potential becomes specific. The unlimited version you imagine, it becomes the tangible version that gets built. And the tangible built version, it will not be as perfect as the one you imagine, because nothing is as perfect as you imagine it. Nothing is as perfect as you imagine it. Deciding, it means giving up the fantasy of the perfect potential in exchange for the reality of the real imperfect thing. And the real thing, as imperfect as it is the only thing that can generate income. It's the only thing that can change someone's life. It's the only thing that can become the second income stream that gives you options when your 9 to 5 runs out of options to give. And a fantasy, your imagination, it doesn't do any of that. Only the real thing does. And the real thing, it requires your decision. Now, I want to paint a picture of what changes after you make the decision. And I want to be very clear, because this won't happen immediately or in the first week when your motivation is high and you're still energized by the novelty of building your coaching business. This is going to happen over time. And it's going to happen in the accumulation of weeks and months of honoring your decision instead of remaking the decision over and over and over again. So, the very first thing that changes after you make the decision is how you see your time. Remember, we talked a little bit about time earlier, right? So before your decision, before the decision, time is something you either have or you don't. Somebody dropped time in the comments. Building your coaching business is something you'll do when you what? Have more time. But after the decision, time is something you allocate. You start to take ownership of your time. So those 2 hours on a Sunday morning, your lunch break on Tuesday, 30 minutes after the family goes to sleep. Here's the thing. Those windows of time, they exist before and after the decision, right? But before the decision, they go to whatever is loudest and competing for your attention the most. What are some of those things? It could be sleep. It could be happy hour. It could be, reading a book. It could be, whatever the thing is. But after the decision, they go to the thing that you're committed to. So that is the first thing that changes once you make the decision, is how you see time. Somebody dropped time in the comments, because time is not an unlimited resource. It is not. So we have to be very, very, very mindful, strategic, purposeful, and intentional about how and what we do with our time and how we allocate our time. So the second thing that changes once you make the decision is how you see your skills. So before the decision, your career is what qualifies you for your job. And after the decision, your life experience is what qualifies you to coach. The problems you solve, they become your coaching material, literally. The patterns that you've noticed, they become your competitive advantage, literally. The 15 years that you've spent becoming excellent at what you do, that becomes the foundation of something you own rather than something you rent to an employer, literally. And that shift, it's not just strategic, it's personal, because it changes how you literally walk in a room. It changes how you introduce yourself. It changes how you talk about what you know, because at this point, you stopped seeing your skills as something that belonged to someone else, and you started seeing them as something that belonged to you. So that is the second thing that changes after the decision. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. So the third thing that changes when you make the decision is how you see setbacks. So before the decision, a setback is evidence. It's evidence that you weren't ready. It's evidence that the timing isn't right. It's evidence that maybe this isn't for you, right? Like that setback becomes the reason that you're not moving forward, because I had a setback. So maybe this is God's way of saying this isn't for me. But after the decision, a setback is data. It is information about what you need to adjust. It comes in the form of feedback from the market about what needs to be different about your offer, about your business. Let's be clear. A setback is a natural part of the process when you're committed, and when you're committed to it regardless of what any single week produces. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have some great weeks. You're going to have some not so great weeks. And it's a natural part of the process. So that shift, when you start to embrace a setback as data and not evidence, that right there is one of the most consequential things the decision produces, because it keeps you in the game when the game is hard. It keeps you in the game. And at the beginning, when you start your business, the game is always hard for a longer period of time than most people expect. I'm just keeping it real with y'all today. So the fourth thing that changes when you make the decision is how you see your future. So before the decision, the uncertainty of modern work, the restructurings, the layoffs, the industries that are shifting They're literally pulling the rug from beneath you. That's a source of anxiety, right? It's scary. I posted something on my LinkedIn and my personal Facebook this weekend. It was an article that I came across on a publication called Word in Black. And the article was about the 600,000 Black women that are out of work right now. And I mean, one of the stories in this article, it was heartbreaking. First of all, this woman, I believe she was in Atlanta. She was part of a mass layoff. She was a social media manager. I believe that was her job, and she had been doing it for 15 years. And she was on FMLA, and she had a double mastectomy because she had breast cancer, and she was laid off from her job while she was recovering from that treatment. And she was just talking about how on LinkedIn it's just starting to become this place where what she described seeing the equivalent of suicide notes, because so many people right now, they didn't have a backup plan, and they're getting ready to lose their homes or be evicted from their apartments. And here's the thing about it, and this is what I wrote in my post, is that Black women are so often the breadwinners of Black households. So when something like that happens to a Black woman, it impacts more than just her. Like, it impacts her kids, it impacts her partner if she has one, it impacts her parents, her family, her church, her community, like, it impacts so many things. And so I posted this on my personal Facebook and my LinkedIn. So you can go and read it on LinkedIn right now. But on my personal Facebook, one of the comments that my Facebook friend left was, "This is so scary. Like, these times are scary." And so, yes, these times, these uncertain times, these articles that are coming out, you know, um, things that you're seeing on the news regarding how these decisions are being made and who's being impacted, it causes anxiety. It causes anxiety. And it causes the type of anxiety that you might feel like, I hope nothing like that happens to you. I hope nothing like that happens to me. You know what I mean? But here's the thing, after the decision, that uncertainty, it becomes the reason building your coaching business matters. I am not coming on here in the middle of my day, Monday through Friday at noon Mountain Time, to share stories and to give these tips and to share my knowledge so that you can just hear the information and then just go on about your day. Like, I really believe in this work, and I really believe that women, we need to start to take ownership of our own futures. And we can do this together. And I believe in the power of community. So after the decision, that uncertainty, it truly becomes the reason that you're building your coaching business. Before the decision, you have anxiety. You're reading these articles and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so scary. I hope it doesn't happen to me. And this is not a threat, it's just a reminder. It's a reminder that your second stream of income that you're building, it's not just a nice to have. Like, anything can happen, right? You can have a life transition. It might not be you that gets laid off. Maybe it's your partner that gets laid off. And your business, it starts to be the thing that means the next disruption in your life, whether it's at work or at home, it doesn't catch you without a plan. Multiple streams of income are not a luxury, they are security. And the decision to build is the decision, and the decision to build is the decision to start building your coaching business. That is security. When you make that decision, that's security. I want you to start to create security and options for yourself. So I want to go a little bit deeper. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining on YouTube. Between the relationship of decision and identity, because I think it's the piece of this particular conversation that is often most misunderstood. Most people think the identity follows the evidence, right? We talked about that a little bit before, and if you're just joining, I encourage you to catch this on replay to hear that conversation. So you build the coaching business, you get the clients, you generate the income, and then you start to feel like a coach. So you prove it first, and then you can claim it, but that's backwards. That's backwards. And it's literally the reason why so many women have built coaching businesses and they still struggle to fully claim the identity, because they're waiting for a level of proof that the inside voice keeps moving just out of reach. The identity, it comes first, and it's not as a performance or a pretense. Oh, goodness. Okay. It's not as a performance or a pretense. The identity, it comes as a decision within itself. So you say something like, I'm someone who coaches women through this specific challenge. This right here, this is what I do. And this is who I am in this particular context. And when you act from that identity, you make offers as a coach and you show up as a coach. You price your work as a coach. You follow up as a coach. You stand firm on your price as a coach. And it's not because the evidence fully supports it yet. It's because the identity is the decision that comes before the evidence. And listen, I know it's Mindset Monday, but this is not a mindset hack. It's the sequence that produces a coaching business. And here's why it works in that order. When you act from identity, you take different actions than when you act from aspiration. Y'all remember we had the conversation about an aspiring coach? So the coach makes an offer. The aspiring coach thinks about making the offer. A coach follows up. An aspiring coach wonders if following up is too pushy. A coach, she holds her price. And an aspiring coach discounts every single time just so she can close the sale. You see how those actions are different? So, because those actions are different, the outcomes are different. And the difference, it starts with the identity. And identity, it starts with the decision. And I want to say something else about this that I think is worth you thinking about. The decision, when you make it, it doesn't make the fear go away. The imposter syndrome, it doesn't disappear the moment you decide. The uncertainty, it doesn't resolve the instant you honor your decision. What changes, though, is what you do with it. What do you do with that fear? Before the decision, fear stops you. After the decision, fear is information. Fear is information. because fear tells you that this matters and that you are in the room where the work is happening. And once you recognize that, you have enough to move through the fear anyway, because your decision still stands even when your feelings don't cooperate. Feelings are not facts. Somebody drop that in the comments. Feelings are not facts. So now I want to spend a few minutes on what the alternative looks like, because I spend a lot of time talking about what happens when you make the decision, right? So now I want to talk about what happens when you don't make the decision, to honor the decision that you've already made the decision. That's what we're talking about. And I don't want to do this to be harsh, but I just want to be honest. I want to have a real, transparent, honest conversation about this, because I think clearly seeing the alternative is one of the things that makes the decision feel more urgent. So the women who don't decide, they don't stop building. They don't stop building, right? They keep doing things that feel like building. Remember, I just said feelings are not facts. Feelings are not facts. So you don't make the decision, that's fine. You're still going to keep building. You're going to be doing things that feel like building. You're going to be consuming content about building. You're going to be attending webinars about building. You're going to be taking courses about building. You're going to be talking about what it is that you want to build with your friends who are also thinking about building. But here's the thing, none of that stuff produces a coaching business, because building something is not consuming. Building is not attending. Building is not talking about. Building is making an offer to a real person and letting them say yes or no to that offer. And that right there, it requires a decision. The women who don't make the decision, they don't stop wanting. That desire, it doesn't go away, it stays. It stays as a low grade awareness that something is not finished, that something is incomplete. The desire, it surfaces as a version of life that feels more aligned and more sustainable and more like something that belongs to them. And the longer you don't decide, the more that awareness, it just sits alongside the evidence that you're not doing anything about it. And that gap between what you want and what you're doing, that gap, it becomes its own source of pain. Not dramatic pain, but quiet pain. The kind of pain that shows up as a feeling that something important is unfinished, that something important is being left undone. And the solution or the antidote for that pain, it's not more information. And it's not more content consumption. It's not another course or another webinar or another conversation about what you might build someday. The solution is the decision. And here's what I want you to understand about the cost of not deciding. It is not neutral, because every single month you spend in the waiting but not deciding phase, that's a month you're 100% dependent on someone else's decision about your future. That is a month without a second stream of income that could change everything if your job disappears, if you experience a life transition. And every month that you wait is a month without the offer that could help a woman who's navigating exactly the thing that you've already navigated. It's another month that goes by without the compounding that starts literally the moment you decide. The decision is the most important step in all of this. And it's not just the decision about building a coaching business, because as I said earlier in this episode, you probably already made that decision. And if you're like most women, you've made that decision multiple times. I'm going to build a coaching business. But it's the decision to actually honor the decision that you already made, not to keep remaking the decision in January for your New Year's resolution, or when you're setting intentions in in the spring when you're resetting your intentions. You make the decision again. You make it again in fourth quarter before you go into the next year, because this whole year you've just spent thinking about it. And we did a lot of conversation in this episode about women and what causes these things. So if you're just joining live, you can go back and watch the replay of this video on my YouTube channel. But the decision is the most important step in all of this. The decision to stop making the decision and honor the decision. And that is available to you right now. So before I get out of here on this Mindset Monday, I want to come back to talk about Her Income Lab. Have you heard about Her Income Lab? If you've heard about Her Income Lab, give this video a thumbs up. On May 30th, that is what, 21 days from now? Wait, 26 days from now. I'm hosting Her Income Lab. It is a live 3-hour workshop where we will build your coaching offer together in real time. And here's why today's conversation connects directly to Her Income Lab. This workshop is for the woman who has already made the decision. She knows she's building. She's made the decision that this is not a someday plan. Her Income Lab is for the woman who needs her offer to be done so that her decision becomes visible in the world. Because here's what I know about the decision. It needs a tangible expression. And your offer is that tangible expression. Your offer, it takes your internal commitment and it turns it into something concrete. It turns it into something that you can put in front of another person that says, look, this is real and I built it and here's what it costs. So Her Income Lab is where your decision becomes an offer. It is where the internal commitment becomes an external reality. Her Income Lab is where the woman who has been building in her head, she gets that thing out of her head and into the world. Registration for Her Income Lab opens next week for the public, and the seats for general admission are $147. And the VIP is $297. The women on the wait list, they have early access pricing. If you signed up for the wait list, the details for that early access special, yes, it is a discount. Special discounted pricing is available to you, and it's only available to people who took action. So I hope you found this conversation helpful today, because there is one decision that separates the women who build something from the ones who keep thinking about building something. And it's not the niche decision. It's not the pricing decision. It's the decision to stop making the decision and start honoring it. And that decision is hard. It is hard. And I talked about all the reasons why it is so difficult for us high achieving women to make that decision. One reason is it requires you to claim an identity before the evidence is there. It requires accepting imperfection as a permanent condition. It requires giving up the unlimited imagined potential in exchange for the real imperfect tangible thing. And honestly, it is the most important thing that you can do for your future right now. It's more important than any course or any certification, any platform, any tool, any strategy. The decision is what makes everything else possible for you. That's what makes everything else possible for you. Okay? Now, I want y'all to come back tomorrow on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we talk about strategy here on Nick at Noon. I am here Monday through Friday at noon Mountain Time. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications on so you do not miss a beat. Not only do I do these live shows every day, Monday through Friday, but I also have a curated video that I upload once a week. So you get Nick Scott 6 times a week. Nick Scott 6 times a week. Registration for her Income Lab opens next week for the public. I want to take a moment and just say thank you to each and every one of you who popped in and out of this episode. This one was all about the mindset, y'all. It was all about the mindset. It was all about, why do I keep putting off starting my coaching business? And TLDR, it's because you just keep remaking the decision. But that's hard. It's hard to honor that decision. And we talked all about why it's so hard to make that decision. So I hope you found this one helpful. If you did, let me know. You can leave me a comment on this video. You can send me an email. You can send me a message on Instagram or LinkedIn. Let me know if you find these helpful. And thank you for joining me for another episode of Nick at Noon. I hope to see you in her Income Lab on May 30th. There's more information about it down in the description, or you can just go to my website and learn more about it. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.